something that people do more on the right is they're like extremely open about their Christian faith, right? Like Pete Hegseth decides to share a video from a guy that says women shouldn't vote and this is Christ-like or something. And what just infuriates me is that I don't feel like people who might align more progressively are speaking Christianese, this common language that we also have to say, like, hey, let's talk about why Jesus uplifted women. So what do you think people in progressive spaces need to do to make maybe Christian vernacular in this moment a little more okay, to feel like we can also talk about our faith without being like offensive to somebody else, right? But right now, everybody is being affected by this lens of the Christian faith.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's a little bit of a reclamation of Christianity, of scripture, of patriotism. I think in a lot of progressive spaces, we have yielded Christianity, the Bible, love of America to the right and been like, well, that's your thing, and that doesn't work. That's a losing message. That's one of the biggest reasons that I put this book together and that I work so hard to share people's stories and to work through these concepts, is because I'm not going to yield the Bible to people who weaponize it against others. Like, you talked about Hegseth and him quoting Doug Wilson, and Doug Wilson's a pastor and has written a bunch of books about the Bible. And like, he doesn't get to be the only voice that people get to hear about the Bible, right? Like, so there has to be a reclamation of like, we care about the Bible too, and we care about following Jesus too. And to make a winsome argument that this is actually a more faithful interpretation of scripture. This is a more Christ-like way of Christianity. This is truly following the way of Jesus. For far too long, I think a lot of people in progressive spaces, especially progressive political spaces, have just kind of yielded and said, well, I guess Christianity is kind of the rights thing. Even like patriotism is the rights thing. But that sucks, and we shouldn't do that. We should be reclaiming these things and saying, yeah, we're not going to yield them to people who would use them to hurt people.